Becoming who you're meant to be is never tidy.
It's the sacred in-between, where chaos meets clarity.
Where truth cracks open light and light brings you home.
Welcome to Journey to Radiance, where real stories,
Raw truths, and
Brave transformation light the path forward. We're not here to give you a highlight reel.
We're here to talk about the parts of life that shape you.
the messy,
Magnificent middle,
Where reinvention
where reinvention
begins. Welcome to Journey to Radiance. We welcome our Radiance tribe. If you're finding us for the first time, I'm Melissa.
I'm Alana.
I'm Jo.
Welcome. So today we're exploring the moments when we shrink, the places where we dim, soften, or disappear because it feels safer than standing fully in who we are. The truth is, shrinking is a survival strategy until it becomes a habit. Pretending protects us for a while, but eventually it becomes a cage. So today we're going to ask a brave question. Where are you pretending or shrinking, and what would it look like to stand in your full self there?
It's a big one.
It's a big, meaty topic.
Yeah.
So let's start by grounding this in our lived experience, the places where each of us have felt ourselves shrink. Who wants to go first? Don't all jump in at once.
Right? You go, Alana.
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
Okay. As I was thinking about this question, it's really happening to me right now. So I find myself shrinking in places where I feel new. So when I feel new at something, and as I'm entering the coaching and speaking world, I feel new and I feel very seen. I know that it's my purpose and that I'm supposed to be there, but I feel myself discrediting my years of corporate experience. So I've had to have this mindset shift of being excited to be new and knowing that I may bring some innovative, fresh ideas, that I'm okay with being a beginner. I'm okay with learning.
What if your newness is like your superpower? Or what if your newness is your edge?
Yeah, that's what I want to step into. Like, I want to feel that. When you say it, I like it, but I'm not, it hasn't soaked in yet.
Yeah.
Because I'm so, again, kind of recovering people pleaser, recovering perfectionist. And that's like, well, I should know all the things. And why am I not on all these stages? But what's cool is when I do go watch other people, it does boost my confidence even as an audience member, because it makes me feel like, oh, I should be doing that. I could be doing that.
Yeah.
So it's always great to just get out there and see what others are doing and then go home and make it my own. I also read this stat, you guys have probably heard about this, when you talk about women versus men in applying for jobs. So women apply for jobs when they have 100% of the qualifications, and men apply for jobs where they feel they have 60% of the qualifications. And they took it a step further. It was Hewlett-Packard and Harvard, I think, did this study. And they talk about women feel they believe that they have to have all of the qualifications even to, again, get to the starting line, whereas men assume they'll figure it out on the job.
Right.
So we are like discrediting ourselves even before we begin. And it doesn't come from, I was telling this to a friend and she goes, wow, I wish I had a man's confidence. And I said, no, it's actually not confidence. It's our conditioning. It's the way that we were programmed and, learned things from our childhood through adult life, where we don't even come up to the starting line. So it's trying to push ourselves to be okay with fear, and that fear is really your soul's GPS. It's your soul saying, this is actually where you should go. Go this way. I know it's scary, but it's going to lead toward growth. So I always love to check in with myself on that statistic, even though I'm not applying for a job, but it kind of relates.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think the other thing in that context that I can totally relate to this, because I'm new in real estate development, right? And going into that dynamic, I felt like because I had no experience that I should just, accept whatever terms and conditions were offered in terms of a partnership deal. And it was eye-awakening. So I did accept the minimal because I felt like it was a learning opportunity, and it was an opportunity at that. And I knew I could make the most of it. What I realized very quickly is I had discredited my entire life experience. Just because you're new at a task doesn't mean you're new to life, right? Like, you have wisdom, you have perspective, you have relationships, you bring value. And I wasn't operating from that place. I was operating from the perspective of, I'm new to this thing. So this thing, I have to start at such a basic level, when in fact I was at 60+%, even though I've not done it, just because my past experience lended itself to my current situation. So I can totally relate to what you're saying, Alana, and I think we often discredit our past life experience. For sure.
100%.
And your skills being transferable. Like, I've had teachers come to me for coaching that want to get into the corporate world, and they're like, oh, I can't do that. I'm like, no, you've done that. You've just done that in a different room with a different title.
Right.
But you've done it.
Right.
And sometimes it takes someone believing in you. And so I think for me too, it's like, you guys have been so helpful with believing in me. And then the newness will start to fade away.
Yeah. I love that. I think your newness, I think if you can be bold with it, you're going to probably have more impact because you're coming at it with such a fresh perspective. And I feel as though, especially in a coaching dynamic, like, people kind of need to be kind of shook to their core a little bit, like, shake me up, like, read me, get to the core of it all. And I feel like your boldness lends itself really well to that, regardless of how long you've been doing it. I think when you're operating in your purpose and in your strengths, it naturally will go the way it's meant to. I feel that very much for you.
Love ya.
Yeah, love you back. So I contemplated this one, and I had several different shares, and I'm like, how messy do I want to go?
Where do I want to go?
So I'm going all the way in messy. This is a really important topic for me, because I went through such an awakening 4 years ago, and it came, that awakening came by way of great pain. And what I had recognized was that there was a long season of my life where I was dimming myself. And it felt easier to do that than to face conflict. In my past relationship, and I'm just going to be clear, I'm not going to say anything to disrespect my past partner. I'm not here to do that in my share. What I want to do is share some of the perspective of my experience, because I feel like there's other people that are in this situation, and there are some universal truths here. In my past relationship, I learned to keep the peace by softening everything about myself, my voice, my reactions, my ambition, my needs, and sometimes even my dreams. And I made myself smaller because I believed that harmony mattered, and that mattered more than honesty. And that was it had a huge cost for me. The cost was that I kind of slowly disappeared. And this was a relationship I was in for 25 years. So it's a slow burn. It's not an immediate, like, oh, I'm lost. I woke up today and I'm lost. It's death by a million cuts. And what I felt like that I was keeping things calm, it was really self-betrayal. And it was really happening just in small little increments over and over and again. So in that dynamic, my partner had his own trauma, and how his trauma showed up was in a fearful way. He was afraid of losing me. He was afraid that he was not worthy of the relationship. He felt very insecure in the space that he was in personally. And I recognized that my light was bright. I recognized that the world received me differently, and I knew that God had a plan for my life, which was so big. It was so bold. It was so big that at times, at first, I was I think I shrunk a little bit because I didn't believe in the vision for my life, and I was afraid of how big it was. But then I just had a knowing, and then I found myself making those sacrifices and creating that harmony dynamic that I talked about. And so I think my partner recognized how big my light was. And when situations wherever I was receiving an award, or if there was some recognition that was shared with me, then there would be fights. There would be, things that would be initiated in order to create disharmony. And I loved this person. I shared my life for 25 years with this person. So the last thing I wanted was to see him in a position of pain. So I felt I needed to sacrifice that in order to keep that peace. And at the end of the day, I read the book Untamed.
Yeah.
And Glennon Doyle, for anyone that has not read that book, it is probably one of the most transformative works that I have ever experienced. And what I recognized was I was doing a disservice to him in that dynamic as much as I was doing a disservice to me, because by placating his feelings and emotions, I made it easy so that he didn't have to do the work. And in so doing, I was not walking in my purpose and not meeting my full growth and opportunity. So it took me 4 years to make the decision to leave. That's the other thing. It's like, even when you have the knowing, the how is still can be very unclear. And it felt like it was such a big decision. Our situation was very complicated, but it took me 4 years to get the courage and to figure out the emotional consequence and work through that. And also we had a professional consequence and business consequence. So it felt very complex. And it was literally like a puzzle. Mm-hmm. I had to just put it in piece by piece until I could get a clear vision of what I was building in that puzzle. And for me, it started to well up in me where I was unwilling to create harmony. I was unwilling to take the death by a million cuts. And I just started to advocate for myself, and I started to find my voice, and I started to just hold that space and be confident in that. And I think, it's interesting is that pattern felt it was a very, personal dynamic, but I still feel that pattern showing up in my professional life. I talked about the newness in that real estate development opportunity. I still find myself struggling to recognize my true value and advocate for myself in that way and letting my light shine bright. And so it's a conscious effort. Like, even when you have that awareness in yourself, I find it's a daily test that I have to face that and own that and walk through that space. And it's so uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Like, literally right now, I'm negotiating a business deal that I feel completely uneasy, and I feel like I am doing something wrong, or that I should just cave in and just make it easier for them, and create. My tendency is to create that harmony, and I see the same exact pattern. So I will talk myself out of asking for what I do. I will talk myself out of negotiating for my best interests. I will talk myself out of the equity that I know I've earned and deserved because I've worked really hard and I've shown my value. I've been told I'm the best partner that this partner's ever seen. And yet I'm feeling, I'm holding back because I feel like, well, it's too much to ask for that. Mm-hmm. I'll just ask for this other little thing. Mm-hmm. I'm abandoning myself to this day, and you can do the work, you can do the therapy, you can do the self-help, you can read the books.
You can have the experience.
And still.
For the listeners, how long have you been the CEO of the company? And the company is obviously male-dominated industry, so maybe that would be...
Yeah, so we're going to be 25 years old next year, March. And I know you're wondering, like, how is that possible? Because you only look 25, but it's true. You shouldn't have laughed quite that loudly. I really appreciate that. But yeah, 25 years, and that's been a whole other journey. That's, I could take many episodes to talk about the challenges of operating in that male dynamic, or male-dominated dynamic. But today, even though I have been here 25 years and I have evolved in that role with my own sense of understanding of my leadership style and who I am and how I can show up authentically and what my voice sounds like, and I've achieved success doing that. But there is still that inner peace in me that still fights that fight every day. Mm-hmm. And so I just share that because no matter how far you are in your journey, whether this is you're just having the inkling in yourself that something's off and you're just early on that journey and on that path, or you've been fighting this fight like I have for most of my life, you know, it is the same journey.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah, wow. I give you a lot of credit. And if you're negotiating that deal, don't back down.
Yes.
You feel it in your body.
Don't back down. Yeah. So I wasn't protecting anyone else. That's the joke of it all, right? And those patterns, you know, cross over personally, professionally, and when you have that awareness of yourself, you really have to pay mindful attention to where it shows up and how it shows up. And I found it very helpful as well when I am open and transparent and I share that with you ladies. I know that you'll hold me to account when you see that behavior showing up. So that's been one trick and one tip. And we're going to talk a little bit about our turning points and like what we've implemented. But that's one thing that I've really counted on is confiding in folks and then saying, please, you know, let me know when that shows up. I don't want to show up that way. And that's been a really important opportunity to reflect on that when that awareness is brought to my attention.
Mm-hmm.
It's huge.
Yeah, that is huge.
How about you, Jo?
Oh, boy.
Wading in? Come on in. The water's fine.
Yeah. How is it when we get really deep?
It's deep.
Yeah, it's deep. So I too struggled with this question. I really struggled with this. And so I'm self-confessing lifelong shrinker. Mm. Yeah. And in some areas, you are more shrinky than others. We go small. And I'm on month 14 of putting my puzzle together. The puzzle you spoke about that took you 4 years. So I feel encouraged by that, right? Because I'm 14 months into figuring out that I was doing this and now working on it. So I don't want to be cruel or mean to anyone. So I'm going to be vague a little bit. But I grew up, my dad passed when I was 11. I always knew things about him. He had a bad temper. He had illness throughout my childhood and passed away early. I blocked most things and put everything down to his bad temper was triggered by his illness and things he did he couldn't control. And he grew up in that environment, so it wasn't his fault. You know, the fly off the handle moments, the angry outbursts, the yelling, that was normal, right? And so I ignored it and I painted another picture. And that's the picture I told myself. It's the picture I told my family, my children, my friends. Poor me, my dad died when I was 11 and that's terrible. That was easier because it's easier to live in the, oh, you poor thing, that's terrible. That must have been awful at 11 years old than what I really knew was buried somewhere deep inside me. And just over a year ago, we did a family trip to Iceland, which was my sister, my mother, and some aunts. And my sister and I have been very disconnected for a very long time prior to that. And then when the day we were leaving Iceland, they had all flown out early. Her and I were left at the airport. And she asked me a question, and it was a question that has, I think, changed both our lives. So she asked me the question, what were your thoughts of Dad growing up? And I, in a split second, I could have shrunk and said, it was great, and stopped the conversation and carried on life as we were. Mm-hmm. And I didn't. I don't know if it was the look in her eye or I just knew we both deserved an honest answer. Mm. And I blurted, spat, vomited back out just a string of truths. And they came from like memories flooding into my head at the time and just everything. So we spent like 6 hours just talking through it all, what memories we had, how we both had the same memories, the same recollections, the same feelings. And from that day, you can't shrink once you do that. And like you said, Melissa, when you commit to telling someone, hey, when I do this, tell me, it was like that commitment to each other. We had opened Pandora's box and that toothpaste was not going back in that tube. So it held us accountable to both owning our memories and dealing with them. Consequently, my sister wrote a letter to my mother asking her, what was your role in this? We don't remember. We don't remember where you were. We don't remember you being present during some of these abusive outbursts. So kind of hit it head on in a letter. I was asked, did I have the same understanding memory? To which I said yes. And yeah. And I said, but we'll all be okay. We can get through this. But I'm not ready to write my own letter or face that hill. Yeah. And so that is where I am shrinking. I'm shrinking on one side, but it's funny how when you put the puzzle together, you build, part of your puzzle is this really strong block that you can stand upon and elevate yourself from. Because you have, for me, it's this new relationship with my sister. It's incredible. But then there's this other part that I am totally hiding from. I have put a big black curtain between me and it, and I'm not willing to open that curtain yet, but I know I have to, and it's just day by day. So yeah, it's funny how you shrink in some areas and grow in others. But yes, so lifelong shrinker, I believe.
Yeah. Where is the room for grace in that dynamic for you? Because I just felt like when you said that, thank you for sharing that story, by the way, as deeply meaningful and profoundly, impactful. And so many people are going to benefit from you sharing that story. I felt like you had a lot of self-judgment on your willingness to go behind that curtain. And is there space for grace there for yourself? Do you feel the grace for yourself and the timing of?
I do. And there's grace to not only myself, but other people involved. So, I don't want to hit my mom head on with everything. She doesn't. The grace I won't give myself is it's taken me this long. Like I could have said to her 20 years ago or 25 years ago, 30 years ago when I still lived in England and was still there, hey, we're not cool. Some of the things you say, some of the things you do, I'm not okay with. And I didn't. And to now bring it up seems cruel. Like that was on me. It's my lack of courage held it in for this time. So now how I approach it is really important. We all want to show up in the right way to the right people at the right time. And I just don't know. I don't think there'll ever be a right time. So it's how. And that's the tricky part. I do give myself grace because I was a child. I didn't know. And
so many layers of trauma there. And when trauma happens when you're a child, your coping mechanism, your survival mechanism, it is a multi-layered protectionism that happens. And that's why I say where the grace lives is because it's probably not healthy for you to, if you're not feeling ready, to force yourself to be ready, right? Like I feel like that it could come at great risk and peril, not just to yourself, as you mentioned, but to others. But I feel I can totally relate to your story because I lived with my past of childhood sexual abuse, and there were so many layers of protectionism in that. But it all came flushing forward. Like I could totally relate to your story in that airport when all the things, like you vomited them out. Like there was just this moment that I had to own what happened to me with my family, and it just blurted itself out. And I feel like that is the only way I could have gotten it out. Because if I had tried to be graceful about it, I would have stopped myself from doing it. And so that is almost like the necessity in order to get it out. But I instantly, when I spoke it, I felt like I was responsible for everybody's reaction to it.
Yes.
And when I went through therapy, one of the things, and we've said this in other episodes as well, is like, we're not responsible for someone else's fragility. Where does my responsibility begin and end? And what my therapist, reflected to me as my responsibility was to my survival, my well-being, and my truth, and the ability for me to express my truth. And so that was really healing for me because I did feel the weight and burden of, but what is this going to do to those that I love? And it's not that we ever mean intentional harm to anyone, and we can be sensitive about that. but you're going to know when it's right. And I just encourage you to just be patient and be mindful of ways that you may be keeping it in and fighting what your body's trying to tell you and what your spirit and soul is trying to communicate. You know, not to stifle that, but to also just let it be natural. And you know, that's how it worked for me anyway. That's my experience in that.
Yeah. Like you get to trust that how it came out for you and your sister at the airport was exactly the right timing.
Right.
And I know you said you're 14 months in, and you can just lean on that same trust that if you're meant to write your mom a letter, if you're not, you'll know what to do. Because I imagine you never thought that conversation would come up with your sister.
No. I was happy with the picture I had painted, and that was easy.
Yeah.
It was just easier.
It
was easier not knowing, and the stories we have both shared with one another, I did have an identity crisis.
Yeah.
And
who am I?
Yeah, who am I and where did I come from? If the picture I pretended was there, that's what I built my life and my frame on. Now what?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, who am I really?
And how brave for first of all, your sister. Her bravery inspired your bravery. And her bravery, it allowed for your healing.
Yes.
Because the denial, there's no healing in the denial of it. There's healing in the reality of the expression of it and the processing of it. And the expression of it is because otherwise I feel like we internalize the pain experiences that we've had. And we, you know, I don't know if there was some part of you that felt like maybe you deserved what happened to you, or maybe my behavior. Like sometimes people, you know, they share their traumas. It's like, well, you know, if I didn't cause so many problems when I was a kid, or if I wasn't,
Maybe
you know, like we
happened.
take ownership of the bad thing rather than, no, the bad thing was, I didn't deserve the bad thing. It had nothing to do with who I was or how I behaved or what I did or didn't do. I didn't deserve that to happen to me. And I feel like your sister's bravery really opened that opportunity for you to explore that.
And I think for me, the way it showed up the most was giving too much grace to people when they behaved badly or inappropriately or out of what is okay and acceptable in any way, because I got used to making excuses. Because obviously as a child, when you have a parent who has a bad temper, it's embarrassing, it's humiliating. You learn to cover for that person. You make excuses. And that's what I did. I excused so many bad behaviors from so many people. I think that's how it showed up for me. Not the self-blame, but the excusing bad behavior.
Wow.
That's huge.
That is huge. And it goes back to what I was saying about those patterns show up in so many different ways, right? Like once you learn that behavior and that's a coping mechanism, then that coping mechanism just applies itself across the whole imprint of your life, the whole fabric of your life. Which is profound. And one other thing you shared in a past episode that I want to refresh here too was you talked about your willingness to kind of swallow that and like stifle that and not express to someone, hey, did you mean to insult me? Like, did you mean to hurt my feelings? Because that really hurt my feelings, right? Like your avoidance of that and your, allowing that to happen, or you're, excusing that.
It's totally
Is that related? Yeah.
100%. Because when you excuse someone's bad behavior, you're tolerating it. When you tolerate something that you know isn't right and doesn't feel good for you, you're moving your boundaries, right? And metaphorically, that's us shrinking, right? Because our boundaries are coming closer and closer to where we wanted them or beyond where we wanted them. And metaphorically, we then have to become smaller because our boundaries have become smaller. So definitely related.
Wow.
Yeah, and I feel like if I'm just thinking about if, people behaving badly towards me and over not speaking up, it then gets harder maybe the 10th time that you want to say something but you don't. Whereas if you had just said it the first time, again, you're doing them a disservice by not saying, this is not acceptable to me. And I love the word tolerate. Like, we get what we tolerate.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's an inward thing. So if you don't like what you're getting, look at what you are tolerating.
Exactly.
I have an example of a corporate experience that is like when you said like sometimes you need to be shaken to your core. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things, you know, we talk about shrinking and we talk about also achievements. You know, the achievements are nice and everything, but you really learn from the parts that shake you to your core, and obviously some of the hardest things, those stay with you. So if you don't mind, I'll just share a little story about it. It's just coming to me right now. So I was working in the fashion industry in New York City, and I heard my name over the loudspeaker. So the whole office, it said, Alana Cummings, please report to Amelia's office. And you never wanted to get called into Amelia's office because she was Steve Madden's like right-hand woman, and I think she's still there. And she called me into her office. I'm probably 24 years old, and I was already like shaking. Everyone watched me walk into her office, and she shut the door, and she ripped me apart for a mistake that I had input an order into the system, and my sales rep told me to put it in. And I listened to my sales rep at the time. And it was a $100,000 order, and it wasn't coming in. So she's like, you inflated our system $100,000. And who do you think you are? And why did you do that? And I'm thinking back now, how could a woman look at a 24-year-old and literally scream at me? And I felt like, talk about shrinking. I wanted to hide under the desk and just say, fire me, because just to get me out of this room. And my sales rep was there and did not say a word. And it was also the day before Thanksgiving, which happens to be the anniversary of my brother's accident. And not that she would have known that, but, and so it was kind of like all piling in on me. And I think about it now and I'm like, God, I wish I could relive that moment as the woman I am today. What I would have done, what I would have not tolerated.
What would you have done?
I would have gotten up and said, no one gets to talk to me like that. Like my parents don't talk to me like that. You do not get to speak to me that way, nor should you speak to anybody that way. And she called me that night, and I let it go to voicemail. And she apologized and tried to say Happy Thanksgiving. I was out of line. And I'm just thinking about, as we talk about the woman we're becoming, right? This ever-evolving journey. Those are the moments, unfortunately, that do shape who we are today. And we get to look back and rewrite the story ourselves. And as much as I would actually love to send her a letter or write her something, and maybe I will someday, that moment of my life, really, I'm so thankful for it now. And how I never, ever want to be a leader. Like that was a reflection of who I will never be. So sorry, a different context, but it just made me think about
First
it now.
of all, don't say sorry, because that is such a beautiful share. When I heard you, I got chills when I heard how she spoke to you, because what occurred to me was she didn't acknowledge you. It's like her words didn't acknowledge that you made a mistake. Her words made you feel like you were a mistake.
Yes. Yes.
And it's like your mistake became like you were vilified for being a human being.
Yes, my very being was a problem.
Yes, yes. And how toxic that is, no matter what her emotions were, no matter what her fear, sounds like she was fearful of something.
Yes.
But no matter what her emotion was, we don't get to just do that to other human beings. We don't get to cut someone down that way. And I think I witnessed that a lot in my life, and a very long journey of witnessing that behavior and how the person that I chose to be with would treat others and treat me. And it is so important that you do write that letter. You don't ever have to send that letter.
Oh, that's a great idea.
But write that letter Write the letter for your mom. You don't have to send the letter, but there is a healing in putting the words on paper. There is a healing for how you will feel when you get that out.
Yeah.
And there is liberation on the other side of that, because then it doesn't have a hold on you anymore.
Yeah. It's a great idea.
It is getting it out of you so that you can heal and you can find elevation and you can find relief.
Yeah.
You're not responsible for that woman and her journey. She doesn't deserve you giving her a letter, because there might be wisdom there that would benefit her. I know there would be wisdom there that would benefit her. And we make the mistake because we witness people at high positions that we think that they have it all figured out. And most of them are just broken humans that break other humans. And they don't have enough self-awareness to know what their responsibility is in a leadership capacity and the damage that they can inflict on other human beings. It's infuriating to me. It absolutely is. She doesn't deserve your letter. But writing the letter is, I can't encourage that enough. I for a lot of years, I stopped writing, and writing is so therapeutic. It is so helpful to get your emotions out, energy in motion. That is your emotion, getting that out. If we don't allow the motion in the emotion to take motion, then it's all inside. It's all held in. It's all not realized. And part of the journey is, as you mentioned, most of the growth we have as humans is through trauma and through pain and through these awful experiences. But if we don't take the time to really process it, then we're not letting it inform us in the right way. We're just letting it damage us in the wrong way. And it's so hard. It's so hard to experience that and feel so isolated in that.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm motivated to do that now.
Yeah, I would love to kind of set a light homework and
Yeah.
just touch on it next time we're all together and
a
say
great
if we did
idea.
it just a little bit and
A little
if we got
accountability check. I love that.
a little bit of healing from it. I love that.
So I just want to double click on the turning point, because I feel like there are people that heard our stories. They may have connected with their own life experience. And I want to absolutely highlight, emphasize, embolden the turning point, like where you had gone through the experience, where you knew I can no longer go through this in the same way that I've been going through this. Can you reflect on the turning point in each of your stories of like when you recognized there's no going back, when you open that door and you're like, I'm walking over the threshold?
I always think it's what did you say?
Death by a million cuts.
Death by a million cuts. It's a lot of little moments for me that add up, and then there's just no turning back. My mom actually uses this analogy specifically for couples counseling, but I think it's relatable here, where women or men, but mostly women, have this light switch in a relationship, and it could be professional or, romantic. And you have this light switch and it can dim, it can go up and down. You went through something, so it's dimming, a negative experience, it's dimming. And it can come back up and you trust each other again, and it can go on and off for years. But once it's off, after too many times dimming, you cannot turn it back on. And I think that's what it was for me in terms of my divorce as well, leaving corporate, my journey that I'm on now. It's kind of like there wasn't a specific moment, but it was all the dims that I said, oh my God, of course I have to go this way. There's no other option. And you really do see a bright light towards that way, whereas the other side feels much heavier and darker. So for me, it's kind of just that inner wisdom, that inner knowing.
That's beautiful.
Thanks.
I love the light switch analogy.
Yeah. It stages with me.
Very tangible. So I think for me, it was the recognition that I wanted to be respected by others. I wanted to be honored by others. And I had the distinct understanding that I'm asking other people to honor me in ways I'm not honoring myself. And it was like the hypocrisy of that I really wrestled with.
Can you say that again?
Yeah, I wasn't, I was asking people to honor me in ways that I wasn't honoring myself. And, I was different than you, Joe. I was not willing to give other people after I went through my experience with my ex-husband, I wasn't willing to allow people to mistreat me anymore. But there's a difference between stopping mistreatment and standing in the fullness of self-respect. There's a big difference there.
Yeah.
Right? And so I was really good about, don't do that. Not today. Wrong. I'm not the one. Like I had all the things that I would say, and was able to create that external boundary. But I still had not yet built enough of that self-respect, that self-worth that allowed me to stand in the fullness of who I am. And it just felt disingenuous. It felt like I was hollow in the space that I was standing. Because I had this exterior that said, no, do not try it because it's not going to happen. But I wasn't really feeling it authentically in my bones. Like
you weren't embodying it yet.
Yeah, that's a good, I wasn't embodying it. So that was my breaking point, but also my beginning, because it's, again, the moment you realize that, it's not like, oh, I'm fixed now.
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah.
That was
All
easy.
is well.
Yeah, all is well. On to the next life lesson.
So would you say you had more armor up, whereas Joe, you painted more of a beautiful picture and just let it all go? Everything's fine. And you're more like, no, don't cross me.
Yeah.
Got
Absolutely.
it. So I agree. There's probably two ways that people, there's one of two ways you can go.
Yeah. No, that's a really important distinction.
Yeah. I think for me, so as you said, it isn't just better because you grow up and move out, right? That doesn't make it better. So as a teenager, I know there were other experiences in my home life that I tolerated, right? There was that tolerance. And when my children, my daughters in particular, became teenagers and I was seeing their life experiences and dealing with things that they had going on in their school, or maybe a boyfriend or a friend, and just realizing and thinking back to my own childhood and my own teen years, like how that was dealt with for me and what support I got at home, and realized, oh, they did it really wrong. I'm not doing it that way. And so that realization of, I'm not repeating history. And that was a huge shift for me, I think, in realizing that I'd been tolerating and excusing. And I think I probably became too much of an advocate, a little bit too strong of an advocate for other people in that time, because there was a sense of protection of, no, that's not how we're not treating people like that. I think I will still always advocate for others way more than I will advocate for myself, which I think is very natural. I think that's parental and natural, and in 1,000 ways we do that every day, whether we care to realize it or admit it or not. So that was part of that no longer tolerating. And then the realization that, okay, I'm not letting anyone treat these two girls like this, but I'll let it happen to me. And that realization. So it's an evolvement. And I think probably over the last 10 years, that realization, which if I think about it, that's probably where my sister and I started to shift and drift apart. And she has children the same age. So it would be an interesting conversation to ask her, was she feeling the same kind of things in the same way? So that would be, it would be interesting to know if that is where our relationship just drifted apart and pulled apart.
Wow.
And the healing, like the need to almost retreat to heal a little bit before we could face where we need to go, right? Like, yeah. And it's remarkable. The other thing about your story that I find so remarkable is you broke a cycle without any model for what healthy looks like or what the right approach should be.
Yeah.
And you navigated that and figured that out beautifully.
Wow.
So kudos to you.
Well, thank you. I cannot take full credit for that. I am incredibly lucky. Charlie, he doesn't have the best relationship with his mother, and that's a whole other podcast. But he came from a very loving father figure who taught him and who in turn has taught me. I remember a time when my grandparents were visiting us here, and my granddad was very sick and not really doing well, and I didn't even know what to do. Like I didn't have the warm, touchy approach, and literally had to be told, go sit with him and hold his hand. Yeah. And it was Charlie who told me to go do that. And that somehow broke something, like made me realize, oh, that's what you do in this situation. And so it's learning, and it's having the right people around you to teach you and demonstrate what is right and what feels good and what is nice to other people. It's crazy that isn't our instinct, and or if we're taught the other way, that's what we learn. Learned behaviors are.
Sounds like in that dynamic too, you had some armor. You had some emotional armor up for your survival.
You know what I love is that your soul chose Charlie without knowing that him and his dad had a amazing relationship, right? It's like you just found him and opposite in that way, but that you needed each other, and now you both get to learn from each other. That's so cool.
Yeah, beautiful story. So I want to talk about some practices for taking up your full space, because we've talked about the awareness, we've talked about the turning point, but I'd love to talk about some grounded ways where we can move from that shrinking into like that full-bodied presence, that full embodiment that you talked about. And so I just had a few thoughts, and I just wanted to get your guys, takes on those. Number one is the shrinking inventory. And so for me, this would be a series of questions to like ask yourself, like, where am I editing myself? Where do I leave parts of me at the door? Whose comfort am I prioritizing over my own truth? And so this could be journaling, or this could literally be dialogue while you're in the car. It could be, hey, let me just process how I showed up at that last meeting. It could be, hey, I had to go to a parent-teacher conference with my ex-husband. How did I do? Like, just self-reflection moments, whatever that looks like. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm a big advocate for talking to myself in the car. So if you ever see me rolling up like, bah, 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 I'm not on the phone. I'm just talking to myself.
So my new trick on that, by the way, is ChatGPT has the talking function.
I know. Oh my God. And then you just press the speaker and then it talks to you.
Yes.
And I have a nice man talking to me with a great voice.
I signed, I don't know if you know this, you can modify like how the attitude shows up, and there's like a snarky one.
Oh.
And the snarky one's hilarious.
Oh my
that is
God,
the funniest.
okay.
So for those that don't know, you can modify the emotion that shows up with your ChatGPT bot, and mine is like the snarky.
I love that.
Like really sarcastic, hilarious, super hilarious. So that's a fun time. But anyway, so you're in the car talking to yourself.
So I'm in the car talking to myself. A lot of self-reflection, and a lot of times I ask myself, what would I be doing if I had 10% more confidence? Like, what does that look like? Like, would I make a call to someone that I wouldn't typically,
love that.
I would typically be scared to reach out to, or, so giving yourself the capacity of 10% more confidence, what does that look like? And I love the self-reflection part of like, where am I over giving and under receiving? And we talk about kind of manifesting that we are actually all designed to be receivers. And if you think of a radio, if I turned a radio on right now, you would hear certain music, whatever it's tuned to. And you get to say, what am I tuned to? Am I tuned to stress and overwhelm and, negative thoughts? Or do I choose to be tuned to opportunity and gratefulness and love? And it's a really good quick shift to get you out of that funk. You know how sometimes you're just in that funk, you don't know why you're in a bad mood. It's like, well, what are you tuned to? What are you watching? What are you absorbing? Who are you texting?
I love that. That self-inventory.
Yeah.
And the fact that you have the power of changing the station.
Totally.
Yeah.
At any moment.
I love
and
that.
sometimes you have to do it 10 times a day.
Yeah.
Know that you're going to drop. You're going to get out of, a high vibration. So how can you shift back?
So I know that we've talked about our people-pleasing tendencies. And there's no one in the universe that's like that, right? Nobody out there listening is a people-pleaser. But
It's just us.
I loved this one. I came across this one, and this was profound for me because I'm like, I am doing this. So it's the pause before the give. So before saying yes, asking yourself this question: if I agree to this, am I contributing or am I disappearing? That was profound for me to hear that. So if I agree to this, so when someone asks you for something and you're thinking, I'm going to say yes or no to the request, if I agree to this, am I contributing or am I disappearing?
Yes. And am I not even having to contribute, right? Am I going to have fun?
Yeah. Is this good for me?
Do I want
want
to go?
do this? Yeah, right.
Like literally,
It can be
even
that simple.
recently, yeah.
Do I wanna
Baby
go?
showers, all these things that now my age group were, invited to. And I used to just RSVP yes. And now I pause. Will I on that Sunday morning really want to go?
Yeah. Yeah. Can you just send the gift
Or send the gift.
or the card or
Yeah,
whatever? the thing?
exactly.
Here's a text. Have a great time.
Love that. Yeah. You don't need to be at everything.
Uh-huh. It's as simple as, someone says, do you want to go out to dinner? And you may be trying to be good, or you had a big lunch and you just don't want to.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay to say, I would love to share company with you. I can have a drink, but I won't be eating. And just putting that up front.
Yeah.
So that there's
I love
no
that.
pressure,
Love that.
to say, well, why aren't you eating? We didn't have to come here. And then it feels like feelings are hurt because you're not ordering anything off the menu. And they're like, well, you should have said if you didn't want to be here. And did you want to go somewhere else? No, I'm really happy to be here with you.
Yeah.
I will enjoy my drink.
Yeah.
You eat. Don't feel bad about it. It's my choice. And
Right.
really expressing ahead of time
I love that.
your choices,
I love that.
like part acceptance of the invitation.
Right. That's awesome. I love
Because
that.
we aren't responsible for other people's fragility.
That's right. That's right. And to define your terms, right? Like your terms of engagement, literally. Like, oh, I'm going to engage with you, but here's my terms.
Yeah, here's how.
I'm not drinking alcohol. Sometimes that's a thing, right?
Yeah,
like we feel
absolutely.
socially compelled to drink
Yeah.
alcohol. You don't need to drink alcohol. I'm going to have a soda. I'm going to have a water. Or, I'm going to eat. You guys don't have to eat. Whatever the terms are. I love that.
Yeah. And sometimes it's nobody's business, because I've been in the situations where maybe you're off alcohol, maybe you just don't want to drink that day, whatever it is. And people are like, well, why aren't you drinking? Well, that's really not your business.
My favorite is I'm pregnant.
Yeah. They just assume you're pregnant the second you don't
Yeah.
drink.
I'm 50. I am not pregnant, I assure you. I just spoke that into the universe, and I swear to God, I will not be okay if that were to not be the case.
Oh
But
my God.
miraculous.
But we could do a whole episode on over-explaining.
Oh.
Why do we feel the need to
Justify.
over-explain?
No
and
is a
justify?
full and complete sentence.
Yes.
Right?
It is standalone.
Yes.
So here's another thing that really resonated with me when I saw this. And this is about value before volume. You do not have to overfunction to justify your worth. Your value is not measured by exhaustion.
Can you say that again?
You
Say
do
it
not
to
have
you.
to overfunction to justify your worth. Your value is not measured by exhaustion. And very recently, I traced this back to root causation because I'm like, where did I come up with this like compulsion to always be moving myself and doing something? Like I can't sit in the house without getting up and dusting, or
God, yeah.
gosh, I got to fold these blankets, or I got to fluff these pillows. Like I can't. Why can't I not just be still? And I feel it's like I can trace it back to when I was 4 years old, and it was, well, you should clean your room, or you should be doing this. And so I can literally now, having traced it back to the root of when I first acknowledged that behavior happened, and I can see now, it's almost like a video of my past life as a child. All the times my parents came into the space and I immediately would do something because I wanted their approval, I wanted their love, I wanted their recognition. And it was like, oh, I got to go do this thing because they're coming. I would literally hear the garage door open and I would start cleaning.
Wow.
I can remember those reflections now because I did that root cause. Like, when did I first do that?
Wow.
Where did this start? And that's profound, like that. And then I'm thinking if I flip that coin, I'm like, as a parent, what behaviors did I create in my son that every time I showed up? And I think it's the exact same thing. I repeated that pattern because when I have conversations with my son now, who's 32, he'll tell me, oh, I'm going to work. He'll tell me about all the times he's working. And my new response to him when he tells me, I'm like, I would really love to hear about when you're resting.
Yeah.
Can you share that with me?
Yeah.
And it's like a new thing. And I think when I share that, he's looking at me like, what? Who are you? Like, who are you? You're not what's happened? But that's where I am now. It's like that is such an important point that your value is not measured by exhaustion. You do not have to overfunction to justify your worth. And it goes back to, I am a human being, not a human doing, a human being. So I love that value before volume.
Love that.
So we've talked a lot of things, but I would really love to know what's your one thing? What's your one takeaway today that
I think for me, it's revisit those stories that you think you may have gotten over and it happened a long time ago and you're fine and it doesn't even matter now. Because I didn't even realize how much that situation still affected me. And I'm excited to write the letter, even if I don't send it.
Yeah.
So go ahead and process what you may think is, it's all good now. Because it might not be.
Yeah. Well, and a good barometer on that, because there was some emotion that showed up with you when you reflected on that.
I was crying, basically.
Yeah. That I think that's your emotions and the feelings you have in your body are very good barometers on
They live
the impact.
Yeah, they are still living there, and I want to process them to get them out.
And to touch on that, I think when you have those memories, the things you talk about, Lana, like those things that you said, oh, it's fine. But if you're still thinking about them in any kind of routine or common or regular time, it's still bothering you. It's not okay.
Right. And that's okay that it's still bothering you.
Yeah.
It's trying to tell you something.
Yeah.
So write it out, shake it out, do what you need to do. But yeah, it's trying to tell you something. It's not quite finished.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. I think for me, it's the exploration of like, what is my truth? And I think where I feel I'm softening my truth, I think that's something I'm going to be more mindful of and pay more attention to, where I feel like I need to alter my words for someone else's comfort or convenience, or I need to not express myself fully, or I feel like I'm even, I'm not speaking up. Sometimes it's not speaking at all and keeping the peace and creating that harmony. Where do I feel compelled to create harmony when I don't feel harmonious?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Such a direct link to our last podcast where we talked about, I think I said, I'm not going to say anything because I know I'll be okay. That kind of stung, but I'll be okay. It's exactly what you're speaking to. It's such a direct link.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't quiet yourself for the sake of others.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one last question for you ladies. So I want to end with, when I stop shrinking, I ... So I'll give you the example. When I stop shrinking, I honor the truth that my generosity is a strength, but it is not a substitute for equity.
That's great.
So I'll say that again. When I stop shrinking, I honor the truth that my generosity is a strength, but it is not a substitute for equity.
Mine's going to be simple because it's my business name. When I stop shrinking, I super bloom.
Love it.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I think when I stop shrinking, there will only be space for the people who are truly welcome.
That one got me. Wow. That is profound.
Wow.
Really powerful.
This
Thank
is the
you
best
for
one
sharing.
yet.
It's the best one yet. We're just
Keep
getting
getting
started.
better.
We're just getting started. So if this episode touched something in you, I would love for you to consider sharing this with someone who maybe you recognize that they're dimming their light, or maybe someone who's expressed to you that they're tired of dimming their light, or maybe you're dimming your light and you want to create relationship with others so that you can be held accountable and change some of those behaviors, and you need some support in that journey. I just really want to encourage you to share with others and make the messy, part of your everyday life, and call attention to it and celebrate it and elevate it, because that is where your radiance truly lies. It's in that messy place. And I just want to thank you both, ladies, because you were extremely vulnerable today, and you just went all the way in, and it was really, really powerful. So until we meet again, our Radiance tribe, my wish is that, and I'll leave you with this, may you stop pretending, may you stop shrinking, and may you stand fully in the truth of who you are.